Hello, listeners. Welcome to TALRadio, powered by Touch a Life Foundation. Passion is energy. Feel the power that comes from focusing on what excites you. This is a quote by Oprah Winfrey, and we have just the right person to talk about passion today. And I present to you Janet Bray Attwood, co-author of New York Times bestsellers The Passionist and Your Hidden Riches. She's a globally acclaimed expert on living a passionate life. She has inspired millions through her transformative programs and has shared the stage with Dalai Lama and Sir Richard Branson. Janet co-founded the Passion Test certification program, which boasts over 4,500 facilitators in 65 plus countries. Her dedication to service has earned her prestigious awards, including the President's Volunteer Service Award and the World Peace Flame Award. So now let's hear from Janet about her story, what passion means to her and what purpose means to her. So this is over to you, Janet.
Thank you. It's so sweet to be with you. And I'm just so happy because what I love is when I get on a show with someone with passion. And that's what you're like, Pavithra. When we started talking before the interview, it was just like kaboom, instant. Huh? So thank you for having me. So let me get right into it. How did I get into this world, right? And just like everyone listening, I'm sure many of you can relate that, you might have had a job where you failed completely and you weren't doing well and your whole life was just miserable because of that and you weren't making any money. Well, I was in such a job and I was actually teaching transcendental meditation. I love meditation. I love what meditation can do for people. And it was really fun. The only problem was I was living on the meditation center's floor. I wasn't making very much money. Now, this was over, I don't even want to say how long ago, because most of you weren't born, but many, many years ago. And so the price the price of what I was getting every month was very low. And so because I loved what I did, I just decided, okay, I'm gonna live at the meditation center until I make enough money, and then, I'll get myself a little apartment and blah blah blah. And we all know how the story goes. And every day, and the meditation center didn't have a shower. It had a bathroom, but it didn't have a shower. And so every day, I would sneak across the street. I would jump over a fence. I would go to these apartment buildings and I would run to their pool shower, take a shower, and then sneak back across the street. And then I would give my enlightened lecture. And all of these people always came to my lectures, and many of them came in Jaguars, Porsches, Mercedes. And they were all of these people, these mostly guys who were recruiters from Silicon Valley. And someone snitched on me, Pavithra. Someone told them, hey, do you know what Janet's doing? And they said, oh my God, we love her. She's so, she loves people and she's such a good communicator and she's really so fun. Let's ask her if she wants to take the last seat in our office. They needed to hire a recruiter for their 13-person office. And so what did they do? They came to me and they said, hey, Janet, we've got this great job. It's recruiting disk drive engineers. You'll make millions of dollars, and we'd love you to come and take that seat. And Pavithra, what do you think I heard?
$1 million?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about nothing. Can anyone relate? So I instantly, because I thought, ka-ching, ka-ching, how cool would that be? I would actually have a shower, in a house. And so I went to this job without much thought and really without much thought, because I walk into this office and the first thing I notice is that all the walls are brown. Now, I am really into color. I'm very visual. And I'm like, no. And not only are the walls brown, the tables were brown, the phones were brown. And it had that really thick kind of carpet where if you dropped something on it, you wouldn't find it. And what color do you think it was? Yeah, it was brown. And then, and so like immediately, I'm like, really? And immediately the manager walks in and he is like, okay, here's your job order. And he hands me this piece of paper. I sit down and he might as well have handed Greek to me because I am right brain creative. I am not like super left brain and analytical. And to recruit disk drive engineers, very technical. And I am like, oh no. And I knew it right then. I knew it right then. And what was so awful about this was that everybody who was in this office were my friends. And they thought, she's going to burn it up. She's so good with people. And they had this bell that they ring every day when someone got a job for a recruiter, and they'd run to the front and they'd ring the bell. And that bell rang for everybody for a whole month. But guess who? Me. Yep, didn't ring for me. And I am like, are you serious? This is so awful. And I started kind of like walking into work and trying to be as invisible as possible. And one day I remember sitting out in my car, I put my head on my little windshield, right, on my dashboard. And I was like, I look up at the sky through my window and I'm like, oh my God, it's a blue sky. And there's birds and it's a beautiful day. And I haven't noticed it for a month. And it was really that bad. I was just so depressed. And I just thought, I've got to do something. And I remember my mother always said, Janny, you are here for greatness. And I'm like, okay, please, come on. And I set my intention. I'm going to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. What is my greatness? Because I really always felt I was brought up thinking everyone's got greatness. You just have to figure out what is that greatness? And so anyway, every night after work, I'd go to the meditation center and where I used to work, where I used to give my lectures that I loved. And I'd sit down and meditate. And that particular day, when I went to the meditation center, I saw this sign on the wall. It said, yes to success seminar in San Francisco. I'm like, what? A success seminar? Oh my God. And you know how things blare out at you and you go, that's it. That's what I need. And so I called in sick. I know you'd never do that. I know you'd never lie, but I did the next day. I called in sick to work. I said, can't come. I'm so sick. And then I got in my little car and I drove to San Francisco and I walked into this seminar and I sat down in the front row. And immediately this woman walks in and she is so lit and she is so happy. And she's talking about, aligning with your passion and doing the things you love and living in your integrity. And all of a sudden I'm going, oh my God, I'm so out of my integrity. And then she starts sharing about a survey that had been given to the 100 most successful people in the United States. And what the survey found was that all of these successful people, top, were choosing consistently, were living their passion. And right then she went on to talk about dressing for success. That was like, I asked her later, do you remember that moment? She said, no. But I sat there and my whole world stopped and I started thinking, okay, all right. If I could do whatever, if I could be like those 100 most successful people, how would I find out how? How would I find out how? How would I? And that was actually the birth of what is now known all over the world as the passion test, the number one tool to help people find their passion. And then what happened was I followed this woman. I asked her at the end of the seminar, she had actually asked, can anyone give me a ride to the airport? And I thought my hand was going to fall, my arm was going to fall out of the socket because I lifted it up so fast. She looked at me so weird, like, really? Oh my God, I'm going to let her. And so she said, okay, a little, with a little trepidation. And I drove her to the airport and I'm thinking the whole time, I'm going to ask her if I can, be her slave, study with her. She'll be my mentor, whatever. And I'm in the car and my knee is shaking and I'm so worried. And we get to the airport and I'm waiting for that perfect moment to come. And we're standing there waiting for a plane. And then all of a sudden, she turns to me and she says, so, what is your passion? And I said, what is my passion? Oh my God, if you don't hire me, you better move over because I'm going to be your next competition. And right when I said that, I was like, no. And right when I said no in my brain, they called her plane and she just looked at me like, whatever, and gave me a hug, walked away. And I am like, are you kidding? Oh my God, I didn't just do that, did I? And I get in my little car and I'm like, oh my God, I just ruined the most important moment of my life. And I'm driving back to the meditation center. And all of a sudden I went, no, I know what I want to do. I want to do what she's doing because what she's doing is so cool. I want to help people find, their passion and fulfill their life and know what their purpose is, right? And so when I get to the meditation center, by that time I had planned. I was going to follow her all over the United States. She was going on her tour. I didn't know how I was going to get the money, but I was. And I was going to go to Boston, and she was telling us she was going to Boston and Iowa, Washington, D.C., blah, 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 all these places. And I went, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to follow her. I'm going to sit down in the front row. And after a while, she's going to have to hire me. And I get to the meditation center. I'm meditating. I'm so excited. When I come out, a friend is there. She goes, what's new? What's new? Are you kidding me? What's new? And I told her my plan. And then I said, the only problem is I'm minus money. And then, we said goodbye. Here's what was so cool. The next night when I'm meditating, all of a sudden, and this is really a true story, all of a sudden I feel $100 bills falling all over my head. And it was my friend. And she said, Merry Christmas, Janet. And I think it was June or July. And she said, Merry Christmas, Janet. Go and live your dreams. And it was $100 bills all over my head. And Pavithra, do you think I took her money? Yes, I took her money. And I flew to Boston and I sat down in the front row, and she walks in. She's like, I know you. Where do I know you? I know you. And I went, yeah. And I didn't say anything. And she flies to Washington, D.C. I fly to Washington, D.C. I walk in, sit down in the front row. Wasn't going to say anything. I was just going to, show up. And she walks in, what? Stalker. And then she flew to Iowa. I flew to Iowa, then Los Angeles, finally Los Angeles, because I started to run out of money, right? And she walks in this time and she's looking for someone, right? And she points at me and she said, all right, already, you're hired. And that how it all began. And it's just been a beautiful journey. And before then, I had started meditating. So it was so wonderful because now I was not only living full life from within, which meditation helps you get, but also I was so aligned with the things that matter most to me. And then little by little, and it's interesting what happened little by little. After setting my intention to find my passion, I started to really get clear on what this thing called the passion test looked like, and started sharing it with people. And the next thing you know, there I was, sharing it all over the world. And that is how it starts. And I love this because it's so important. It's just so important that everyone get clear on the things that matter most to them. And it was, and I know that firsthand because it was so important for me. So there you have it. That was my beginning.
Janet, I was just looking. I was just observing your eyes the whole time because I guess you're talking about this for, I don't know, the thousand, millions time. You have talked about it probably a million times. And there is still that twinkle in your eyes while you're, talking about this story, your journey towards how you had started the passion test, and there's still that twinkle in your eyes. And I wish everyone has the same in their life when they're talking about what they're passionate about and how they're living their life. And that is something which is really lacking in our generation, which is so caught up in setting benchmarks and kind of crossing it without having any kind of introspection of what they actually want. And that comes to having a passion is one thing, but I think passion should also be purpose driven, and that is where people probably don't find the balance. And what is your take on being purposeful in passion?
Yeah, that is such a great question. And thank you for noticing that I get so energized talking about this. So to answer this question, it's not about finding your purpose. It's about living a purposeful life. And the purpose of everyone's life is for each of us to know ourselves completely, because our passions, it's not a mistake that you love the things you love. They're not an accident. The things we love and care about most are there, and people don't really think about it. It's just kind of like, life goes on in spite of these thoughts that we have. But the things we love and care about most are there to guide us to discover our own deepest nature. And what I discovered is that when someone follows their passion consistently, that's a really important key word. Their life feels purposeful, and it's not necessary to be able to say, this is my purpose, because, Pavithra, when you follow your passions, living your purpose becomes automatic. It becomes automatic. As a matter of fact, there is this really cool book that I love to talk about when I'm doing interviews. It's called Success Built to Last. And in this book, these authors, what they did was they interviewed all of these highly successful people who had known longstanding success, like Maya Angelou, the great poet, and President Jimmy Carter, and Michael Dell from Dell Computer. And they, over 200 people who had known longstanding success for not just 5 years, 10 years, but 15, 30, 40 years. And when the authors did their interviews, what they found, which was so cool, was the one thing that they all had in common was, like the other 100 most successful people in the United States, that survey that I talked about in the very beginning. They were all consistently choosing in favor of the things that gave them greatest meaning. And what we say in the passion test is your passions are like breadcrumbs that lead you onto the path of your destiny. Your passions are like breadcrumbs, those little breadcrumbs that you put down so the birds can eat, And when you follow your passions are not your purpose, but when you follow those passions, it leads you to the path of actually why you're here. So, yeah.
And yeah, so I want to follow that up with a question of so you defined what passion is and you have defined what purpose is. And you describe passion as breadcrumbs, which probably would pivot you to a path of a very purposeful path. So my question to you is, how does a person in their life, while they are feeling a bit lost, how do they find purpose in their life?
Yeah, that's another brilliant question. Well, it begins by discovering your passions, as I said, and I define passion as the things you love and care about most, because when you're doing things that connect you with those passions, you feel, hello, voila, passionate, right? And in our Super Purpose program, this is where we start. And what we do is we help participants identify their natural talents, what the world needs, and what they can be paid for that uses their talents, and those things that are aligned with their passions. And participants are guided. I love, love, love this program because they're guided to create a vision for their life. And we teach them how to undo the beliefs that have them, have held them back for so long. And then what we do is we help them create an action plan, which everybody has to have, right? To make it really real, to start living with passion and purpose, to fulfill their vision.
That's wonderful. And now we are going to talk a bit more. You had mentioned the Super Purpose program, and you're going to have a free workshop on that on the 18th of July. And so I understand that we have already had conversation with the Superhabits team, as well as the psychology, as well, so the super relationship team as well. So we understand that it is very grounded in consciousness, and I would like to know a bit about that. And so, what do you say about what can you say about the consciousness based approach towards finding purpose or finding passion, and what does consciousness mean in this particular context?
Yeah, Dr. Tony Nader is the co-creator of the Super Purpose program, and He is so brilliant. He's a medical doctor. He's a neuroscientist who was trained at Harvard and MIT. And his book, Consciousness is All There Is, will be released on August 6th. I want everybody to get it. I mean, it's the best book. Let me say it again. Consciousness is all there is. I mean, it's really a must-have on your list of top 5 books. Absolutely, right? And what he describes in his book is what makes our approach really unique and different than anything you can find out there in terms of finding your passion. And what I mean is that the Super Purpose program, what we do is we use a consciousness-based approach. And as we have been discussing, a lot of the limitations to really living a purpose-filled life are things like our inner critic. And everybody has one. Things like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'll never make it in life, I'm not rich enough, I'm too old, I'm too fat, all those things that yada, yada, yada. And the expectations also that we think society or our family has on us. And it can also be limiting beliefs or just fear of change. And that there's a lot of that out there. And there are a lot of limiting beliefs right now in the world. And all of these things that reside in our subconscious, all of these reside there. And if the problem is at a deeper level of consciousness, then doesn't it make sense, Pavithra, that the solution also needs to come from a deeper level of consciousness to be most effective? Yeah. So let me just go a little deeper on what this means. Dr. Nader uses this analogy, and it's such a beautiful analogy. Imagine that your mind is like an ocean. And at the surface of the ocean, we have waves, we have activity. But as you dive deep into the ocean, and you know this from diving into an ocean, if you're a swimmer, that things get progressively more calm, more quiet, more still. And our mind is the same. At the surface is that conscious thinking mind with lots of activity, as we talked about before the interview, right? And we think all the time. And underneath the surface is your subconscious mind, which is more subtle. And then at the bottom of the ocean is what is called pure consciousness. And who you really are, the best version of yourself, resides there. And what that means is that your intuition, your feeling, your inner knowingness about your passions and purpose also reside at the bottom of the ocean. And this pure consciousness expresses itself through our thoughts. And you can think about thoughts like an air bubble that start from the bottom of the ocean and makes its way to the surface. And that is why we refer to pure consciousness as the source of thoughts. And we all have this air bubble experience in our day-to-day lives. And for example, let's say you see someone you haven't seen in a really long time, and you can't remember their name. Pavithra, does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, a lot of times.
Yeah, it's on the tip of your tongue, but you can't quite remember. What is that? What is that? What is that name? I know them. Well, that's the experience when the air bubble is coming up, but it gets stuck somewhere near the surface. And you can feel it's right there, right? I know it, but because it hasn't reached your conscious thinking level, you don't have conscious access to it just yet. And then hopefully you give yourself a few seconds, and then the air bubble finds its way to the surface and you say, oh my God, yes, of course it's Pavithra, So anyway, this is how who you really are at the bottom of your ocean can express itself in a way that you have access to it at the surface in your conscious thinking mind, and the two are connected by your thoughts. And so in order to start choosing in favor of your passions, when you think about this, most of your life choosing to do things you were told you should do, well, what you have to do is you have to quiet your waves, and you have to dive under the waves of the ocean of your mind to more deeply connect with what your passions really are. So if we look at changing our behavior so we can create the life we want, you can think of that like trying to move an iceberg. I mean, icebergs, I have something like, 15% of their ice above the water and 85% below the water. And it is the same with our current behavior. We have some conscious understanding of why we do what we do, but really, the vast majority of what drives us is below the water level, and it's in our subconscious minds. And when you try to change behavior just from the level of your conscious thinking mind, it's like trying to move this iceberg while only pushing at the top. So consciousness-based change, on the other hand, what it does is it brings in different technologies of consciousness so we can move the mountain by pushing at many levels at the same time. And what people report is that because this is so much more effective, well, it also becomes easier and much more fun. And I'll tell you this, and I know this by looking at you and talking to you, when we're having fun, do you not agree? You learn faster, smarter, better. Yes or yes, right? So, Pavithra, I can tell just by being with you this very short time, I know you agree with me that when you're having fun and you're learning great knowledge, then you learn faster, better, smarter. Yes or yes?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you just stick to, I'm able to stick to every word that you are saying right from the interview, because I can connect it to so well.
Oh,
And I'm sure that a lot of listeners would be feeling the same about it, because we are all searching for passion, we are all searching for purpose. And your voice, and how you have been talking about your story, it makes so much sense to me. And I'm sure that this would resonate to our viewers as well,
oh,
and with our viewers as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see how you will take about the super
purposeful.
purpose program, and how it's going to be, and especially when you talk about a consciousness based approach to it. I can only say that it requires a lot of. It's quite challenging to bring the, like you described, to the surface level, those bubbles to the surface level, and it requires a lot of training. It requires a lot of some sort of a coaching. And what is your take on that? Like, why is it so necessary? Because I always get a feeling. So when you're talking about consciousness, for
Well,
me,
go
yeah,
ahead.
mentally, I was just thinking about a situation where I'm trying to kind of find that one, one way in which I can come up to the surface, and I'm just struggling in the ocean. And I just want someone to like give me a hand and just pull me up, and that's how I visualize it. And what's your take on that?
What my take was when you were just saying that, I'll take you there. I don't know if you know that song. Anyway, well, okay, all kidding aside, I've really had the good fortune to live the life of my dreams for so many years. I mean, seriously, I travel the world. I just got back from China, Japan, India, and just Thailand. And what I get to do, I get to teach people how to live with passion and purpose. And I share the stage with, as you said, some of the world's greatest thinkers and speakers. And my friends, I love my friends. They're among the top world's transformational leaders. But as you heard also in the very beginning, it wasn't always that way. My life was not always that way. I struggled for many years before I discovered and started regularly using the passion test, and on top of that, applying the technologies of consciousness to live a purposeful life. And it took me most of my life, and this is really the truth, to learn what I teach in the Super Purpose program. I mean, we packed it all in. And as well as all this great knowledge that Dr. Nader has shared. And I don't want those who are drawn to this course to go through that long learning process. I mean, whoa, it took forever. I didn't have, this wonderful, just step by step. I call it a system, the acronym for system. Save yourself time, energy, and money. That's what the super purpose program will give
It's
everyone.
all about.
Yeah, yeah. And I love this quote by the famous Sufi poet Rumi. Rumi said, "Whoever travels without a guide needs 200 years for a 2-day journey." And I feel like I took, the long way, and I want all of, you guys, to everyone listening, to be able to, just jump to the chase and really get the goods. And that's what you get by having a coach. So what's so wonderful about this program and a system is that this will be a 20-week journey, but it's fun. I mean, it's about you. When it's all about you, and you'll see how it's all about you, you're going to be able to get clear on your passion. You're going to get clear on your purpose. You're going to really be learning all of these wonderful consciousness raising programs. But that's certainly better, and right, than 200 years. And I'll tell you, it's just gonna jumpstart your whole life. And what I've seen is, when I give this program to my students during the program, what will happen for the participants is that they will have access. And this is what really makes it really super great, because there's a connection to a WhatsApp group to ask questions of the community. They'll be part of a learning circle, which is so cool, to support them in their learning. You're not in alone. You're going to have all kinds of friends. You'll have a buddy system. You'll have a buddy to keep, to help you be accountable, right, for the change that you want to be committed to making. I know how valuable that would be. And what else is that the people who take the Super Purpose program will have the support to gain a deep level of clarity, because that's what aligning with your purpose is all about. A level of clarity that really matters to them in life, and to begin living that beautiful life of theirs right now. I mean, why wait? And this is open to everyone. This is for all of us. And again, as I said in the very beginning, we all have a gift. And our job, it's not even personal. Our job is to find what is our gift and be able to share it with the world. And this is our job, in whatever way we feel that we want to share. And when we do that, that's when you jump out of bed in the morning. You're not looking at a clock. You don't think, oh no, Monday. That's when you go, yeah, I am ready to live my life and live it full out. And I can't wait to share it with others.
How wonderful. How wonderful. I mean, you have just given such a comprehensive idea of what the Super Purpose program is all about. And it's so wonderful to know that you have put in a lot of effort to it, and from your own experiences, and you have some of such well-qualified colleagues who are there to kind of pack the program and kind of push everyone's passion forward. So I am really excited to know what people discover about themselves through this program. And so to our listeners, I would say that please do go and attend the 3 hacks for a purpose-filled life, the introduction workshop, which is on the 18th of July. And it's free, and you'll get a sense of what the program is all about, and you'll get a small idea of what you will be getting through the program. And it has been such a wonderful having I have had a great time having this conversation with you, Janet, and I'm pretty sure that people are going to be really grateful once they attend the intro workshop and get an idea of who you are and what you offer through the program, because it feels very very authentic, and it feels very, it fills my heart with a lot of joy when you're explaining like passion and purpose, and I want people to get the same thing as well. And thank you once again for being a part of this special interview. And we could not have got anyone else better than you to talk about passion, because it's just the energy, the twinkle in your eyes. It just shows how passionate you are about what you're doing, your life, and everything associated with it. And I'm just so happy to have met you, and record this interview with you. I'm so happy.
Oh, me too. And as I said, it was kaboom from the beginning. It was just like, oh my God, I have a brand new friend. I just love you, and you're a wonderful interviewer. And thank you for this time, huh? And love to everyone. And I look forward to you coming to our three super hacks, because you're gonna love these three super hacks. Seriously, you're gonna walk away and you're gonna go, wow, I got that much out of this free program. What am I going to get from the other one? Huh? So see you there. Thank you, Pavithra. Love to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anand. And to this is your host, Pavithra Krishnakumar, signing off for today. See you in the next episode. Thank you so much. Have a great day.